What's up, Crispy Works fam? Welcome back to another video. Shail over here. Today we're gonna be talking about my Polo and the problems I've been experiencing for the past week or so. I am recording this intro after the fact, after already fixing the car, but I just wanna just wanna let you guys know what I went through and how I came to find out the problem and how I fixed it. So the problem all started about on Monday last week, when I was on my way to my dad's place and the car started losing power, started misfiring, and also to add to that, the EPC warning light came up on my cluster, which at the time I had no idea what it means. I'm not familiar with the terminology of VW, so I did what most of us would do, which I turned off the ignition, turned it back on, hoping that it would go away. But it did not go away, guys, obviously. So I managed to make my way finally to my dad's place, which the first thing that I did was actually search what EPC means, and I found out that it actually means electronic power control, and it has to do with problems with the throttle body system. And so what I did after that, I just went to Goldwagen, bought myself some throttle cleaner, which to find out was actually $200, which I was not expecting, which I thought was really highly priced, but I mean, it's quality stuff. I mean, using to clean carbon deposits and stuff like that. So anyways, guys, the first thing that I did when I got home, I removed the air filter box and the air filter, making my way to the throttle body. And guys, what you want to take note of when you are cleaning the throttle body, you want to open up that throttle valve and clean up that carbon buildup over there, because that's what most of the time causes the throttle body not to idle correctly, and then the idling of the car is very low. So I just made sure that I cleaned that. So anyways, guys, after I cleaned the throttle body, I made sure that I put everything back together, and I started up the car. To see if there was any difference to the idling of the car. But I was really doubtful, because there was a misfire, and problems with the throttle body doesn't usually cause a misfire. So obviously, when I started the car was still misfiring. So at this moment, I had many ideas of what the problem could be. My mind was thinking of the injectors, because I remember when I replaced the heater valve, that I took out the injectors. So I was very mindful that maybe I damaged one of the injectors when I was putting it back or something like that. And also my mind was also thinking of the coil packs. One of the coil packs might have been faulty, or also the spark plugs that are faulty. So at that time I had many ideas of what it could be, but I don't know why. I was thinking of my friend, which spoke to me a while ago when I was still busy with the golf, that he heard exhaust leak on my Polo. So my mind went towards that. I don't know why, but the first thing that I did was I checked by the downpipe to see if there was any exhaust leak when the car was idling, but I didn't see anything. So I switched off the car and I took off the exhaust manifold heat shield, and what I saw over there was a crack in the exhaust manifold. So with the exhaust manifold being cracked, this really sparked my interest in what this could potentially do to the car, because my mind was thinking the crack is right there by the oxygen sensor, which if you have a faulty oxygen sensor, it will mess up with the fuel ratio, which could have an effect on your power and also cause the car to run very lean, or also high fuel consumption, and that can affect the power of the car. So my mind was thinking that this could be the potential reason of the car having a misfire. So I decided to Google search what the potential damage that it could do, and finding out that it could cause a loss of power and all of these things, I was thinking, now do I have to replace the exhaust manifold, and how much is this gonna cost? And so I decided to phone an old friend at Toyota, my old foreman, and I asked him what does he think I should do. And he actually told me that I can take it to an exhaust place where they can actually weld up that crack. And that's what I decided to do. And so from here guys, I'm gonna let past me carry on with the video. Yeah. Okay, so right now I'm on my way to JNRX exhaust. That's where I'm gonna see if they can weld my crack up on the exhaust, and hopefully we can get it all fixed for a good price. And yeah, I'm hoping for the best, guys. Okay guys, so once I pulled in here, manager was standing there. I didn't even need to explain my problem to him. He already knew that the exhaust manifold is leaking because it's so common in Polo Vivos, because he told me that the cat gets blocked. The heat really gets to a high temperature and it starts causing the exhaust manifold to start to crack. And yeah, so they actually make their own exhaust manifolds here and they supply Goldwaffen. So it just shows you that this is a real common issue. So you can maybe expect this if you have a Polo Vivo. And yeah, so he said it's going to be about $3 grand with parts and labor. That's not what I was expecting, guys. But yeah, another blow to the budget, I guess. Have you ever heard of these that the studs break off? Have you ever heard that the studs break off? Many.
Even like this.
Yeah.
The manual, we know that always when you bring it here, the manifold is broken.
Nice. So you already know as soon as they bring it Polo Vivo, possibly exhaust manifold.
Only this.
Only this?
Yeah. Only.
Yeah.
Still fine, but the manifold.
So you can do this one in your sleep. You can do it in your sleep, eyes closed. You do it so many times. Eh? Yeah guys, I'm on my way home now. JNRX did a good job, but obviously because of this exhaust manifold cracking it caused other problems now. So the more I drive into this car, it's not coming right, but definitely they already did. It's not so loud in the front like it was, so it's obviously that exhaust leak was quite big. But now it caused side effects now. I'm just driving in this car, like shaking the whole time. It's like as soon as I put my foot down on the accelerator to accelerate, it just gets, you know, the shaking. So I think it could be maybe the coil packs. Could be the coil packs or the spark plugs. So yeah. Right guys, so it's day 2 right now. Today we're gonna be diagnosing why there's still a misfire on the car. We already found the root of the problem, which was because of the exhaust manifold getting cracked, because of the catalytic converter blocking up and causing rise in temperature, which resulted in the exhaust manifold getting cracked. So let me just show you before we start diagnosing, looking for that misfire. Let's just show you how it looks with this exhaust manifold inside. Okay guys, so this is how it's looking at the moment. As you can see, it's not looking too bad. That's where the oxygen sensor is mounted, right there, over there. And then we have, I don't know why they put silicone. I don't recommend putting silicone on the exhaust gasket. If you can, if you were replacing yours, I would rather put gun gum, which you can just put on your gasket and then put your exhaust manifold on, because silicone is not going to do the job. It's just gonna This is gonna burn, and that's not what silicone is meant for, guys. Okay guys, so we already know the problems that can happen from a cracked exhaust manifold. It can cause the engine to overheat, resulting in a blown head gasket. It can cause coil packs to also, damage on the coil packs because of that excessive heat. Spark plugs to break down. In extreme cases, I think also a cylinder head could crack because of the extreme heat. So because I'm receiving fault codes, I'm gonna start first with the basics. So my first idea in mind is to start with the spark plugs, because I haven't replaced that in a while. I think I replaced them about 30 to 40,000 kilometers ago. So I'm gonna replace the spark plugs, start there, replace it, start it, and see if there's any change in the misfire or not. And then I'm gonna head over to check the coil packs from there. The reason why I'm not thinking the head gasket is blown or anything is because I still see the coolant is still on its level, but also it can still be a head gasket that is blown without coolant getting into the engine, which could be where it's just losing power, and the car is losing power. So I don't want to go there right now because that's the most expensive option. So I'm gonna start first with what I can see, the cheapest first, and the most accessible things to deal with. So definitely starting by taking out the old spark plugs and checking the condition of it, and then we'll start it after we replace them and see if the misfire is still there. If it's still there, I'm heading over to the coil packs and seeing what's happening over there. So these two over here are going to be the easiest to take out. These two are going to be a bit difficult because the wiring harness is really tight over here, so you have to be very careful that you don't damage the wiring harness. So just want to do that. This one's not so bad. And then I'm also going to just leverage this one a bit. Okay, that one's also loose now. So this, as you can see, it's a bit tight, so you're gonna have to try and get your finger underneath there and then pull on the clip and then pull it out, and it'll come out nicely. I'm gonna do that quickly. Spark plugs out here. The one that looks the worst for me is number one. The reason being because if you look at the spark plug, you can see that actually the coil pack rubber was actually starting to melt on the ceramic of the spark plug over here. That black is from the rubber melting from the coil pack inside the coil pack, that rubber seal. And then also the electrodes, the electrode gap is not that bad at all. I don't know if you can see that, but it still looks good. Doesn't look like the spark plug itself was actually getting damaged or anything like that. All the electrodes are basically the same, the gaps are the same, and yeah, basically just showing me that looks like the rubber on the coil packs was starting to melt. And so we're gonna replace these first, and then we're gonna see if there's any difference. Out with the old and in with the new. So after getting the spark plugs, I actually spoke to the guy at the till. the guy that was helping me with the parts. And the spark plugs were very inexpensive. They're actually original spark plugs, he said, that they supply at Coil. And as well, I spoke to him about the exhaust manifold because he also has a Polo Vivo. And he said he knew about that problem and he knows, touch wood, that his is not damaged as yet. And he asked me how much I paid for the exhaust manifold, and I told him 3 grand. And he was quite surprised because they charged the exhaust manifold for 2 grand. And JNRX told me that they actually supply Goldwagen. So I just thought if you go straight to the supplier, you should get it for cheaper. But obviously I didn't. But I mean, they did the labor as well, so I think that's why it came to 3,000. If I knew beforehand that they supplied the exhaust manifold, I could have made a video on that. Well, where I could have bought the exhaust manifold for 2 grand and then replace it myself. And then we could have made a video about that, but so be it. Okay guys, so all 4 new spark plugs are in. And before I put the spark plugs in, I decided just to look at the coil packs. Look at the coil packs before I actually put them in. And I found that on number 1, which was actually the spark plug which had lots of the burnt rubber on it, which is over here. You can actually see on the inside the rubber itself is cracked, which is already a good sign that this coil pack that's why it's problematic. Like I was talking with my dad, this coil pack is probably the one that is losing spark. It's probably overheated and got damaged because of the heat, and this rubber is actually there to seal the current going through the coil pack from escaping, so that it has a good connection with the spark plug. So that's why that misfire wasn't so consistent the whole time. It would come and go, you know, think that it's alright when it's idling, but as soon as you rev it up a bit, then it starts misfiring. So it would be a bit more difficult to diagnose if the misfire was not there during idle. So the tools that I would recommend, as I was watching this other guy on YouTube as well, he's quite good with diagnosing misfires. I'll put a link to his video where you can actually see that he had another tool called spark plug coil over spark plug adjustment tool, which actually measures the spark coming from the coil pack. And if that spark is a bit too weak, which is about under 60 megavolts or something like that, then you know that coil pack is on its way out. So that's how you'll be able to diagnose that, or otherwise you'd use a multimeter, checking the resistance in the coil packs itself. And so yeah guys, I luckily also just bought 1 coil pack because I knew it with the misfire it wasn't that bad, like it was misfiring on only 2 cylinders. I could feel that it was only on 1 cylinder because the misfire wasn't so bad, but there was excessive loss of power, so basically the car was running on 3 cylinders. So hopefully this will do the trick. I'm gonna put the coil pack over there, number 1, cylinder number 1, where that coil pack, the rubber was damaged in. So I'm gonna put everything back and then we'll see if everything is fine with the engine again. So, and also guys, this was really inexpensive. It was 600 Rand per spark per coil pack and about 50 Rand for each spark plug. Okay guys, so I have everything put back together. The tabs are clipped in nicely, and you want to be careful to route these wiring harness nicely, and clipping these tabs nicely as well guys. And also making sure that you don't forget to plug in the oil pressure sensor and the cam sensor as well when you're done. Otherwise you're gonna have some warning lights on your cluster and you're gonna start stressing out and wondering other things. Okay guys, so I just finished putting everything back together. I'm gonna start the car now and check if the misfire is gone. Hopefully it's gone. Let's have a look guys. Okay guys, fingers crossed. Don't feel any misfire. No misfire. Hey guys, so I'm just pulling out here from my dad's house. I must say guys that there's already a lot of power back. No loss of power when I'm accelerating. And also the EPC light hasn't come on yet. Hopefully it doesn't come on. And yeah guys, there's no signs of any misfire or anything like that. So I think she's good to go.